Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. So I'm going to react to a comment in a video, and I got this comment in a couple other on TikTok so far. And I knew I'd get this. See, this is what happens when you're real and you're honest and you talk about real life human struggles and you keep it real. You're going to have a bunch of critics on their high horse and hypocrites who are self-righteous, condescending Pharisees who think they're perfect. And now, if somebody wants to have constructive criticism of me, I'm the first one to do it. Like, I've had videos where I came out and said, in my last toxic relationship, somebody who I was friends with for 8 years, who love bombed me and did the narcissist thing, and I didn't understand narcissism, sweet voice, sweet, endearing, great personality for her to put a show on, suckered me in, and then I tolerated a little bit of narcissist abuse, and then I got out when I found out what was really going on. And I'm out here telling my real life story, and people are talking about, they're jumping to conclusions saying, you know, I must have multiple kids by multiple women because I keep attracting all the bad ones. First of all, I haven't told you my whole life story. I haven't told you about, this page is about you guys and helping you guys. I haven't sat here and bragged about all the great relationships I've had and all the women who came back to court and wrote declarations in support of me, and women that still hang out with my daughter because they love my daughter so much, even though we broke up and we're civil. They still love and miss my daughter and want to talk to her, hang out with her, whatever. So, to the presumptuous, arrogant, condescending, pathetic, effeminate males out there, I expect women to do this. I guess I should expect feminine men to do this who emotionally react and can't use logic in the side of the brain of that men that deal with logic. So, I did a video saying I was 13-0 or whatever it is in court against restraining orders, okay? So, I'm going to post, maybe I'll do a cover sheet. I don't know how I'm going to mix it in, but some guy made a comment saying, you must be the toxic one. So here's the thing, just to summarize real quick. There's 3 different women over 22 years that went to court. First, in 2001, think about how long ago that was. I had 1 kid out of wedlock. And just to get personal with you, okay, everybody who's criticizing me, were you a virgin until you were 27 like I was? Waiting on God for God's design and order for the family? Before you had your first kid, were you a virgin like I was? If you were, then great. Does that make you more righteous than me? I bet you 99% of the people who are criticizing me for having so many crazy women and so many kids out of wedlock, I've had 1 kid out of wedlock, and it was the biggest mistake in my life, and I've owned it. And this other toxic relationship that I had, the first relationship was pretty good. It got toxic toward the end. And this one, it was pretty good at first. The friendship was good. The beginning of the dating relationship was good, and then it got ugly. Have you ever been in less than 2 relationships that turned out bad? Because I'm batting about 900. 90% of the relationships I had went well. We amicably departed or parted ways. My relationships usually ended because I was a single custodial dad devoted to my child, and because blended homes sometimes don't work out, or a stepmom doesn't work out, my daughter's dealing with trauma. See, I've lived a sacrificial life. So all you punk ass, self-righteous, condescending, know-it-all, God complex having Pharisees out there and hypocrites who sit there and criticize me because I'm just telling a story to help people learn that it is possible to fight off. See, I got people who have been falsely accused and got false protection orders all the time. I hear that stuff all the time. I got people with false protection orders, like a vindictive girlfriend and a vindictive ex-wife might get together, because if somebody has an agenda against you, and I know all you guys out there are perfectly holy and righteous, that have never done anything wrong to anybody in life and don't have a woman coming after you and never been to family court, good for you. We bow down and worship you at your feet. Thank you for entering our lives with your wisdom and dropping comments in here telling us how wonderful you are and you've never had a broken relationship. Now, actually, the guy who commented on this said, I think he said he had a lawyer and he lost custody. If that was a divorce case, then you're an utter pathetic failure, because you committed to a wife and a family and you screwed that up and blew it. I've never been married because I will sit and vet a woman, and if she shows any sign of crazy or any kind of red flag, I'm out. because I don't need any potential thing. Now, when I've left relationships with red flags, they weren't that deep. Now, my baby's mom and the most recent one, remember, we're talking about a 22-year gap. I had a nice 20 years. Well, I didn't date for a while after I got custody because I focused on my daughter. How many of you punk-ass simps out there, as soon as you got out of a relationship, you're dating somebody else? My baby's mom, I didn't date somebody for like a year and a half because I'm focused on raising my infant child. How many of you guys out there are raising an infant daughter and the mother's not around? Now, I will criticize myself for my last relationship because I saw red flags, but I had compassion on the woman because of the way she was brought up and had trauma in her life. And I have sisters who have had traumas in their life who I love dearly, and despite their toxic behavior, I love them to death. And so maybe I'm a little more empathetic than somebody else, and that can allow me to be suckered sometimes or used or played. If any of you understand different spiritual gifts like prophetic gift, teaching gift, mercy gift, and stuff, I happen to have a mercy gift. So I could see a bum walking, I could drive by and see a bum on the street or homeless person panhandling and just start crying, or watch Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Like, that's one, every time I watch that video, I just start crying because he's talking about pain and suffering in the world. I talked to you guys about I was a beta male most of my life. So somebody comes on here and says, oh, you had 2 incidents of restraining orders 22 years apart. You must have a bunch of kids out of wedlock. From somebody, that comment comes from somebody who lost in his family law case. And you know what he did? You know what he says in the comments? I had a bad lawyer. So you're so stupid that you had a lawyer who said, don't fight that hard, or we're going to fight this way, or we're going to only go for every other weekend. And you were totally happy with it. When lawyers told me I would get every other weekend, I said, you got to be kidding me. I work at night so I can be my daughter's daycare. They said, you'll still get every other weekend. You know what? I wasn't a punk ass simp like you, and I didn't tolerate that, and I didn't bow down and worship or ride the jock of a lawyer just because they had a suit and tie and a law degree and listen to what they said. I listened to my God-given conscience, and I listened to my brain, and I had the balls to say, no, I decline your stupid ass legal advice. I'm fighting for equality with my kid. So these punk ass simps get on here, like this guy, he says he's such a hypocrite. And to me, a hypocrite is the worst human being out there outside of pedophiles, rapists, and people who commit violence. The worst human being is a hypocrite. Now, if you got on here and you said, man, you got so many toxic women and stuff like that, are you being careful about your relationships or not? And I clearly pointed out that there's a 20-year gap here between the people, okay, who did this. Really, there's 3 women, 2 of them can be tied together because it was my original custody battle. So remember, when women come to court and they falsely accuse a man, they will go out and recruit people. I was outnumbered 5-1 at one of the restraining order hearings, and I still prevailed. This is the other thing that nobody's talking about among my stupid punk ass bitch, effeminate male simp critics. I won every one of these. I'm 13-0, which means I was falsely accused. And some guy jumps to the, now you could say it sounds like you attract toxic women. That would be a fair criticism. And then I would say, because I don't care to get up here and brag about all the good relationships I had and talk about the beautiful women I went out with and show pictures of how beautiful women I have attracted in my life, and there's still women who are interested in me, who, I keep my space from because I just got out of a toxic relationship. So I'm not trying to rush into anything to be fair to the next woman. Look at how reasonable I'm being. The toxic relationship I was in, that chick, she started dating somebody else who was abusive to her before. I was crushed and heartbroken about it, but I was also enraged that I let myself get played. And so I had to detox for several months. And a lot of you guys out there would hop to another woman in a hot second. Now, I've dealt with clients who have multiple babies' moms. The first one, okay, that happens. People can make a dumb mistake. You're dumb, you're young, or you make a mistake. I was 27 and a virgin when I lost my virginity to my baby's mom. She suckered me and trapped me. I made a mistake and slept with her one more last time and did it wrong. And I own that. Then she's a scorned woman and she's mad. So she wants to control my access to the kid and she told me later, you said things to hurt me you hurt me with another woman that you like later on. So I said things in court to hurt you. That was what it was all about. And then when The woman she hated came to court and testified on her behalf. That was part of her vindictive vendetta. She recruited another woman. That woman came to court and disclosed my bank information. And because with this warfare of getting on the offensive and going to war with people, that chick retaliated against me and got a restraining order to save her butt at her job because she rummaged through my bank account. So when you're honest and when you're upfront and when you have the balls to go to war and call a spade and fight for justice, you're going to be a target. Are you going to get up here and say, look at all the enemies that Martin Luther King had? He must have been toxic. He stood up for justice and got in front of people, got in people's faces and stuff. That makes a lot of enemies. I stand up to people who falsely accuse of people, and I don't stop until I get justice. That makes enemies. So all you feminine simps who sit on your ass on your couch like a bunch of fruity little ballless punks and won't stand up for yourself or fight for your kids, your punk ass will never have enemies because you sit soft and gentle and tenderly in your little tiptoe through the tulips garden life and don't have any hardships because you never stand up for anything, not even yourself, and you don't even try and rescue your kid. So you don't know anything about creating enemies and standing up for a righteous cause. You know, people who stand up for righteousness will suffer persecution. It's our feminist simp culture. Now, if I had 4 babies, moms, and stuff like that, yeah, I'd talk to clients of mine like, why do you keep having kids with crazy women? One client of mine said, well, you know, crazy sex is the best sex. So I'm like, okay, so for 15 minutes of pleasure or however long it takes you, you're willing to deal with 18 years of hell. I learned my lesson the first time around and haven't had a kid out of wedlock since. And I haven't married anybody because when, like the last chick I was with, I wasn't stupid or desperate enough to get married. I gave her a chance to get her stuff together, then I gave her a chance and gave her a chance, and then I realized I was getting played. So I was a sucker for not having boundaries and shutting it down. I got love bombed and I got sucked in by that narcissist pattern of control and things like that. But here's the thing. 22-year gap. This chick, it was the only chick I've ever got a restraining order against. Usually I just walk away or cut people off if I have to cut them off, like my baby's mom. And even then, I reached out to my baby's mom 20 years later, gave her a peace offering. Do you want to be civil? We might have to be at our daughter's wedding one day. It'd be healthy for her if we got along and weren't enemies. I've extended olive branch to her. She didn't answer. So I have one horrible decision on a relationship 22 years ago, and then I have one horrible decision on a relationship 22 years later. In between, almost everybody I dated has written a declaration for me in my family law case. Or in this case, when this chick said, oh, you just hate women and blah, 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 and she turned on me. And I got messages from this woman saying how much she loves me, what a great dad I am, what a loving, giving father I am, and what a good man I am. So she got triggered and she went crazy. And then somehow people are presuming there's something wrong with me. I made 2 mistakes 22 years apart. Have you ever had 2 failed relationships or more? If you have, then you're on par with me. If you've been married and been divorced, you're an utter failure at marriage. I'm not a failure at marriage because I didn't go into any marriage because I'm playing it safe and it's got to be right. And the person I'm talking to right now seems like a great candidate and I'm taking it slow. I'll bet you your body count is double mine in life, you punk ass bitch sellout to your own gender hypocrite. I'm talking to the critics. I'm talking to the feminine males who can't use logic and do the math here. Okay? One woman tried to get 7 protection orders against me. And the main reason she tried another six after that was because she hired another attorney who is the most wicked attorney in the country. I've never, in 20 years of doing this, I've never seen, all you guys say, oh, this attorney's crazy and worse. They're all bad. This one's wicked because he would intentionally lose cases for women clients. So they would go broke and then he would coerce them to come live with him and then work off their bill in his home office. Okay. So this guy, and he called an Asian attorney one time. He called her a lying C word, the racial slur for Asian people. He's bullied and threatened to kill people. I exposed him and got investigated by the Bar Association. He got in trouble with the bar. So he took it personal and he would try and get restraining orders against me. And the fact that I'm undefeated shows that I've been falsely accused. So you're saying that there's something wrong with me because there's evil people out there who falsely accuse me. You know what a punk ass bitch you look like saying that? See, it's effeminate males like you that make an emotionally triggered response that you would expect from a female or a child. This is why there's no father's rights movement. This is why the family courts have so much power. Because punk ass, feminine, simp, limp wristed, coward men who live out of their feminine emotions. Now, men are emotional and they get angry or they have righteous indignation. Those emotions are fine. But when you come with a presumption, like the guy in the comments, he automatically presumed because I had two toxic relationships, and even my baby's mom wasn't toxic until her sisters got involved and we had a kid, and then she had an allegiance to her sister, and then the family court system was toxic, and she went to family court, and the family court toxicity took over. Now, those of you who haven't been to family court who are criticizing me, like on TikTok, there's random people find my videos, and you have a white picket fence, lovely, wonderful life and everything like that, or you're being a simp and you're tolerating a bunch of crap from your wife and it's tormenting you, but you don't have a restraining order because you're giving in and bowing down to her. All you guys, I guess you're perfect. We need to bow down and worship you and sing a praise and worship song to you too. You megalomaniac, God complex having hypocrites. I'm talking about real life issues. I made two major mistakes in my life 22 years apart. In between, I was a devoted single custodial dad, a white man raising a biracial daughter. Have any of you done that before? And then after the pain and suffering and hell that I went through, being dragged in and out of court, falsely accused for being a monster while I'm raising the child and the mother abandoned the child. I mean, nobody likes being falsely accused of anything. That's tormenting enough when somebody's running around talking bad about you, and then some people start believing it. Even like let's say you have friends like, did you really do that? You'd be appalled. I had that nonstop over and over for years, and most of you guys would have committed suicide if you went through what I went through. Then on top of that, most of you, I have guys who are like, man, after you're done helping me with my case, I want to help you and help the cause. And 100% of those guys disappeared, never to be heard from again. A couple of them I'm still friends with. They don't want to be involved in fighting the family court system. I'm out here protesting other people's cases because I'm enraged at the corrupt judges. And your punk ass is sitting at home watching a football game and chugging back beers while you're an every other weekend punk ass bitch dad. My resume kicks your resume's ass all day. My resume is like Mike Tyson's boxing resume. And you're one of his first 1 minute first round knockouts. Like I said, in other videos, I've criticized myself for being stupid enough. I tell people right off the bat, the reason you have this, and guys whining, well, how come I have to deal with this? You had a kid with a crazy woman. Own it. I had a kid with a crazy woman. I need to own it. I didn't see the red flags until the end, but I still could have caught myself and stopped it. I think God warned me the last time. He was telling me, don't go there, don't go hang out with her. I didn't even plan on sleeping with her the last time we slept together and she got pregnant. So I will own it. And I've owned it on video, okay? So the people up here saying, oh, you must be toxic because you have 13 restraining orders. No, you stupid, dumb, down, moronic, airheaded, non-verbal learning disorder order person with a learning disability. There's two incidents 22 years apart. One was a family court incident and the mother recruited somebody else to come against me. The reason I did these videos and I'm being vulnerable and telling my story and being at risk for being criticized and stuff like that, and I'm putting these people in check to let you guys know this is how you answer critics and stupid, dumbass, punk-ass, bitch, effeminate males like this, okay? And I don't care if I lose any followers. I'm only here because the real ones know who I am, and the real ones care about their kids, and they'll stick around and they won't get offended. They won't get butthurt over me telling the truth. This is some David Goggins, Cole Robinson, type of channel. You're going to get it real from me. And, I expected some of the comments I got on TikTok, but I didn't expect someone to presume. And when I was talking about being a feminine male, you went from saying, sounds like you're the problem. You're attracting a whole bunch of women. Like I said, I only talked about 2 women I dated. Well, 3 women I dated, but it's 2 incidents. The mother recruited a woman. This is what's crazy. The women who try to get restraining orders against me are purely evil. Gandhi had enemies. Now, I'm no Gandhi. I'm no Martin Luther King. I'm no Malcolm X. I'm no JFK. Those people had enemies. And their enemies wanted to kill them. And based upon your emotional, effeminate, female-like, fruity, limp-wristed, coward, simp logic that you use on the emotional, artistic side of your brain, you think that I'm a bad guy because I have some enemies who falsely accused me of something. And we're only talking about 2 enemies in 22 years. Most people love me to death. People who know me love me. But I don't need to get up here and telling you my whole resume about what's so wonderful about me, because I'm here instructing people about stuff. And the reason why I did that video is to tell people, look, you men can fight off restraining orders. Guys think it's hopeless. Some guys sign off and agree to restraining orders like idiots in court. You have a right to go to court and stand up for yourself and defend yourself when you are falsely accused. And so for the guys in here to criticize and say, I did something wrong because some evil people used me, manipulated me, got revenge on me, the first one was a scorned woman. Hell has no fury like a woman scorned. A scorned woman got mad at me, then recruited another ex-girlfriend or someone I just dated for a little bit. My baby's mom's black. The chick that I dated in between periods, I dated my baby's mom for about a year, and then she was done with me, went on a sabbatical from relationships or something like that. And then this white blonde girl who would go up in her face and say, hey, are you and James doing okay? After she hung out with me. That girl was trifling, the Mary Solscheid Evans girl. She would get up in my baby's mom's face and say, hey, because we all used to be in the same community and same social circle around each other all the time. Are you and James doing okay? How's things going? Right after she hung out with me. Those 2 people are evil. Because my baby's mom eventually abandoned her daughter after she lost to me in court over and over again. And here I am, a devoted dad for 21 years. And people who follow me on my page and admit that my information is beneficial say, I must be some kind of knuckleheaded hoe who's sleeping around. And this guy even said I need a sex doll. I'll bet you I have a lower body count than you, because I have at least some integrity. I need to go get a sex doll. I would never tell that to anybody. I would never talk to a woman about getting toys. I would never talk to mock a dude to say you need a doll. Why would you bring in some perverted, sick, twisted, disgusting idea like me, saying I need to go out and have sex with an inanimate object? You're friggin' sick in the head that you even recommend something like that or even think of something like that. I wouldn't even think to tell somebody like that, even if I'm criticizing them. This guy says, I must be a hoe with multiple babies' moms. He made a presumptuous judgment leaping from, and you know what that's exactly like? You know what that's exactly like? This guy who's either following me, he says he watches my videos and some of them are informative, but it sounds like I must have, how many babies' moms does he have? He needs to, zip it up or whatever he's saying and go get a sex doll. I had one kid almost 22 years ago now. I devoted my life and surrounded my life around my kid and lived a sacrificial life. And then I came back through all the trauma, and like no other father's rights advocate I've ever seen, I've stuck around helping people for 20 years. And this stuff is overwhelmingly emotionally and psychologically aggravating to listen day after day. All you punk ass bitches who are overwhelmed by your own individual case and criticizing me. Like today, I had one of the busiest days I've ever had. I had like 6 appointments yesterday. I usually have like 1 to 2 appointments a day. So I'm doing this stuff for not that much money at all because I'm passionate about justice. And I got somebody up here calling me a crazy hoe with multiple babies' moms who needs a sex doll because I was falsely accused by a couple different women 20 years apart. This is the state. See, all you guys are sitting here saying, oh, there's a father's rights movement. I can feel it because you went to a father's rights movement meeting. Or you see some videos where guys are talking about corruption in family court and nobody's doing a damn thing. And you're emotionally triggered and think everything's great because you feel every single year, rookies like you who are rookies in the family court system come along and say, oh, I went to a meeting and there's really momentum for change. People have been saying that for 30, 40 years, you dummy. But who is this? The guy who makes this comment, and I forget what his username is. I'll post it. The guy who makes this comment, you know who he's like? Remember, I'm falsely accused and I get vindicated. Okay, just think of somebody's falsely accused of rape by, like, he's rich and he's falsely accused of rape by a couple different women who are gold diggers and want money. And he goes through one trial 1 year, and 20 years later, a woman falsely accuses him of rape because he's been rich the whole time, and he's acquitted or found not guilty. And then you go in there and say, "Oh, he must be raping 100 other women." Why the hell would you even jump to that conclusion and leap to that? That's what a psychotic ex in family court would do, because women lie. Potiphar's wife accused Joseph of raping her. And that dude fled because she wanted to sleep with him. And he fled and did the right. He said, "I can't sin against you and my God and do this sinful or evil deed." And then he fled. And because he fled and didn't sleep with her, she falsely accused him of rape. Women will do some vicious, evil stuff. They'll pretend to be cool with you and do some vicious, evil stuff. So guys sometimes get bamboozled. But once you see the red flags, it's time. Like, I don't condemn anybody for making mistakes or getting suckered. But once you get suckered and then you keep going, like I had a client one time. He had 2 different babies' moms. Now he's on his 3rd baby's mom. He had 2 different babies' moms. He's talking to me. They're both tag teaming him at the same time in family court. I'm like, "Why did you do it a second time, dude?" It's like, okay, second time is understandable. Be done with it, okay? First time's understandable. Second time, okay. This lady, a second kid out of wedlock, or a second divorce or failure, that's about all I can tolerate, okay? I got 1 kid, okay? This guy who is a failure at marriage or a failure as a father who didn't fight for his kid is criticizing me, and I revolve my life around my kid and live a sacrificial life. I could have, if I didn't fight for if I would have been a punk ass bitch like the guy who criticized me and been an every other weekend dad, I would be financially better off because I would have had more free time to work 2 different jobs like I did at the beginning of being a single custodial dad. It was too taxing on me after a while. I had to sneak my daughter into my second job sometimes, and then I couldn't get away with doing that anymore. I got caught one time, and then I had to I actually got laid off from one of my other jobs. That's what happened. And so I just stuck with my one job. I couldn't get another job that was accommodating or like that. So in any case, so I'm a single custodial dad working 2 jobs. I took up a second job when my baby's mom was pregnant. Gave her $500 a month when I was not obligated to. Everything she had: a crib, diaper changing station with a dresser, a rocker, a bed. I'm not even with the woman, and I'm accommodating her and doing all I can and revolving my life around my daughter and respecting my baby's mom. Then one day, there's conflict, and her sisters took control, and we're in court, and I get falsely accused. And some punk ass bitch sell out to his own gender. You're like, this dude's like a house slave, like I talk about in the video with the lead attorney. So this punk ass sellout, subhuman piece of garbage hypocrite is up here criticizing me. It's okay to criticize me. Say, "Hey man, you're too loud, you're too obnoxious, and blah blah blah. Or I don't like your tone," or whatever. And I'll just say, "Look, man, I'm passionate about this stuff." Martin Luther King didn't give speeches quietly. Malcolm X actually did. Most of the time, that dude is calm, cool, and collected. And he still got criticized for being a radical. And he said a bunch of great stuff. Gandhi got criticized. Martin Luther King was considered a radical, and now we call him the peaceful one. See, even peaceful civil rights activists or people who advocate for other people will have haters and enemies. But effeminate males will never understand that because they're living out of their emotional feminine reactions that their single mom household taught them to only have. But this guy who's criticizing me, who I'm 100 times better a father than he is, because first of all, I had the balls to fight for him. Second of all, to fight for my daughter. Second of all, I devoted my life around her, and I'm living a sacrificial life, and I'm not dating that much. That's what's so hypocritical about it. I'm not dating that much because my life revolves around my daughter. And one lady, it didn't work out because she was jealous of my relationship with my daughter because I was so devoted to my daughter. If I'm not married to you, my daughter's still priority. That's how I looked at it. And we separated amicably. And we're still friends, and she still likes to fly my daughter down where she lives now and visit her sometimes. My resume kicks your resume's ass in life. Being a man, being a father, being a father's rights advocate. And you're up here saying, I need to get a sex doll and I have multiple kids out of wedlock. And you jump to some conclusions that you have no idea of. And if I had multiple kids out of wedlock, I would tell you and I would own it. And if you were married, you're a failure at marriage. You're a fail at being a father. You're a failure at being a man and having balls to fight for what's right. And you're a punk ass simp who just follows any lawyer who has a power suit and tie, and you don't listen to your own conscience. So even though I got somebody attempting restraining orders and losing and falsely accusing me, and I win, that's a victory showing that I just bumped into that I had relationships with a couple of crazy women. And I'm batting 900 because I'm people I casually dated. I'm people I had serious relationships with. There's probably one mistake I made where there's a woman I could have married that would have been a really good marriage partner. And I had too much going on. I had my family law case was intense. My daughter was dealing with abandonment issues from her mom. And then I was really starting this thing full time where it was overwhelming. Those are 3 different full-time jobs I had. So when this woman I was dating, when she was being a little bit overbearing, which, I was like, no, I can't do this. She was being a little bit nagging and stuff like that. And it's probably something I could have tolerated. So I made a mistake probably not marrying, one lady. And I've probably dated a couple other women who were good marriage candidates. But they all ended amicably. I don't have any haters coming after me and say anything crazy. And the vast majority of them, I got declarations from all kinds of women. And women I dated, like at least 10 different women I dated over the past 2 decades, wrote declarations for me in court. So, on top of that, the 13 wins in court are not 13 different crazy baby moms, for those of you who can't use logical, deductive reasoning or listen or do the math. It's 2 incidents of 2 different women. A second woman, like I said, hopped the bandwagon and jumped on my baby's mom's case. So it's really 2 incidents that far apart. My baby's mom tried 7 protection orders. This lady that I just dated, I got a protection order against her and won. The first time I've ever tried a protection order against a woman, I won. She retaliated and filed, and they just created laws in Washington that allow you to file and make a mistake and accommodate you and let you abuse the system against a guy. Most of the domestic violence laws are radical feminist dominated legislatures that create those laws. Washington is probably the most advanced leading. There are a bunch of women lawyers who are fighting against our new domestic violence laws. Our domestic violence laws in Washington say that if you're driving erratically with your wife or daughter or kids in the car, that is considered domestic violence. So, and they actually wanted to pass a law one time, if you look at a woman wrong, she can get a restraining order against you. So we have the most liberal, wide discretion for the judge. So if you sneeze in the direction of a woman, she can get a domestic violence protection order. So we got overwhelmingly, and you know what's crazy about all you punk ass critics of mine, you would have lost in court. You would have got creamed. It's because I used everything that I had in me and all of my knowledge, and I worked my ass off cranking out a whole bunch of every time this lady said one sentence, I had a book of paperwork proving that one sentence wrong. Most of you would have quit and give up like a bunch of punk ass simps. The ones that are criticizing me, I'm talking about. Most of you would have lost. Most of my audience would have lost. You wouldn't have been capable of fighting this off. It took everything in me to overwhelmingly prove her wrong. And she lost. She got her case dismissed at first. Then she filed again and got her case dismissed. Then she filed again. We had a 1 hour and 10-minute hearing. And she had 11 allegations against me. And I was victorious with all 11 allegations. And then a few months later, and I've told people on other my social media, I'm suing this chick because romance, fraud, extortion, intentional infliction, emotional distress, and abuse of the process. Okay. Now this chick has falsely accused other guys, including her ex-husband, of some things and made false reports. So You're criticizing me because I was falsely accused by an evil person. Now, criticize me for engaging in a relationship and not seeing the red flags ahead of time. There weren't any red flags at first. She was a sweet, loving, looked like a devoted mom. Her kids lived with her, and she was sharing her kids equally with the fathers. But she's a great actress, and I got suckered. And men get suckered by women. Women admit that women are great manipulators. So, like I said, I had a good 20-year string of not getting manipulated or played by a woman. I made sure it didn't happen because of what happened with my baby's mom. And just I got some common sense, and I wasn't desperate. And everybody's like, how come you're not married and all this other stuff? Or how come you haven't done this? Or how come you don't got a girlfriend? I've had long gaps of not even having a girlfriend because I'm not desperate like that. I'm happy to, I'm content being alone. Okay. The vast majority of clients I deal with, they got in a relationship because they were lonely, they just wanted somebody, or they were desperate, or they had a kid because they couldn't keep it in their pants or whatever. And this guy is saying, I'm a hoe like that. And, I'm coming on here and I'm not really trying to defend myself as much as I am trying to check men for being a bunch of feminine little punks. Like I get critics all the time. I get DMs all the time that I ignore and blow off. But when you post something as stupid and extreme as this and you jump from James fought off protection order. Think about this. Let me just summarize it. 22 years ago, my baby's mom took me to court because she's mad that I dated and liked somebody else, a scorned woman. Every single one of you has probably dealt with a woman you rejected and she was hurt and she said or did something crazy. I had that. You're not better than me. And so because we had a kid, she was out. If we didn't have a kid, I would have walked away. And everything, and I did walk away from her, period. So we had a kid and she was able to play the game. And then she recruited other women. And when another woman came in and lied about me and went rummaged through my bank account and disclosed my information, violated me and my privacy, I complained about her and she went to go get a protection order. It was an anti-harassment order because I complained to her job. So it's kind of ironic because my baby's mom would have had a better chance to get a restraining order, and she didn't because I talked to my baby's mom. This chick, I hadn't talked to her in 3 months, and she comes to court, and then she goes to my bank account, and she discloses it, and I complained to her job like my branch manager told me. And so I'm doing the right thing by complaining and wanting justice done, and then I get in trouble, and she gets a restraining order, but I fight it and appeal, and she doesn't renew it. So I consider that a victory. That's 22 years ago. Nothing happens the past 20 years. This guy doesn't say, what about your other relationships? Have your other relationships worked out? How do you know what I'm doing right now or who I'm dating right now? Or how do you know what's happened in that 20-year gap? You obviously didn't listen to what I'm saying because there's a 20-year gap there where I didn't have anybody get any kind of restraining order against me. But these people didn't get restraining orders against me. Except for the white blonde girl, Mary Solscheid. She got one, but she dropped it and she admitted in court that she'd rather not come to court and see me. She'd rather not get a restraining order so she can ensure she doesn't see me, which is an admission that she won't see me in the streets or she won't see me outside of court because I have no intention of harassing her. So she confessed basically that it was bogus and she used and abused the system against me. So that was a victory. It took a long haul run, but most of you punk ass bitch cowards, simps would never fight that thoroughly to get to that point, to be able to wear somebody down and get them to finally confess what they're really about. I wanted justice and I thoroughly wanted and demanded and acted upon getting justice. And then again, 22 years later, a friend of mine who was down and out, this is how I got suckered. She was a friend. She was somebody I actually helped out in her court case too. And we were casual friends and acquaintances. She love bombed me on Facebook and talked about I have Facebook posts right now still that I had to dig up for court. That Facebook post where she's giving me all kinds of love and compliments. Then we would hang out because we had kids, and then we talk about court stuff. And she had a tragic situation with court that she started, but she looked like the victim, so I was helping her out. And then I kind of helped her out here and there as a friend because I'm still doing stuff revolving around my daughter. So our daughters are hanging out, we're doing stuff, and then we became pretty good friends, and we did the friend thing. And then I'm helping her out because she got in a fight and got her arm broken at a visitation exchange, and she looked like the victim. And any guy would probably feel compassion for a woman like that. 99% of guys don't abuse women. we're naturally the protector. So, you know, domestic violence is hyped up, as you guys know, on my channel. And so I presume she was the victim. She had a great story. I thought I knew her. And then the more we talked about stuff and we had long talks, we get something to eat and just talk. And, you know, I'm kind of a loner. So I'm having this friendship with her and I don't have any intentions of it going anywhere. And then it starts going somewhere. And then it's pretty cool for the first couple of months. And then after that, she starts showing her true colors. And then I tolerate it because she tells me about trauma she has as a child. And her dad's trying to convince her to respect me and stuff like that. And she tells me that. So her family likes me and stuff like that. So I'm feeling welcome in the family and respected, even though she struggles with respect for men, but she had toxic relationships. So I looked at her as a victim. So I got suckered by all that. And then in the end, she did something crazy. And then we argued and she talked major crap to me. And then she threatened me. So I got a protection order. And here we are. So you're saying that because of all that I just told you with this 22-year gap, that all of a sudden I need to, you know, go get a doll, and that I must have, you know, multiple situations where I screwed myself or whatever. So you can take it for what it is. This is the type of criticism I expected from some haters or from some women and stuff, but not from dudes. But, you know, I guess I should expect it from feminine men.